Hey, what's up guys? My name's Tajion Sullivan and welcome to my first video. So I've actually had my iPhone 17 Pro Max for just over 2 months now, and safe to say, it's been pretty good so far. But let's address the elephant in the room. This looks different. So we've got an aluminum unibody, 8.75mm thick, and the camera bump's longer this year. Apple call it the plateau, and it gives the phone enough space for a bigger battery, and, this is a first for iPhone, a vapor chamber. The vapor chamber, I gotta make clear, doesn't keep the phone cold at all times. However, it will keep the phone at a temperature good enough to achieve an acceptable performance with all kinds of tasks, such as playing graphically intensive games or editing photos and videos. But let's rewind a bit. Let's talk about battery. The iPhone 17 Pro Max comes with a 5088 mAh battery if you purchased it in the US, due to the lack of a SIM tray. In fact, believe it or not, Apple actually made use of the empty space this year, which is why we have a delta that's around 2 times larger compared to last year's. Also, according to Apple themselves, this battery is capable of up to 39 hours of video playback on a single charge. And speaking of charging, it's actually really fast if you purchase the 40-watt dynamic power adapter sold separately, because Apple is Apple. It gets you speeds of up to 50% in around 20 minutes. And hey, for someone who's had to deal with slow charging for quite a long time now, it's such a refreshing feeling to have my phone basically fully charged in only 40 minutes. The display is also great too, coming in at 6.9 inches diagonally, nice, and it features ProMotion, which means the screen has an adaptive refresh rate of up to 120Hz. It also features Super Retina XDR, meaning the screen has a very high pixel density and can produce over 1 billion colors as opposed to a typical non-HDR or XDR display that can show around 6.8 million colors. Not only that though, because the display can now hit up to 3000 nits of peak brightness outdoors compared to last year's 2000 and 1600 nits of peak brightness indoors. What's more, the display comes with Ceramic Shield 2, which offers improved durability compared to the last Ceramic Shield with 3 times better scratch resistance. As a screen protector user though, I haven't actually gotten to experiment with the display's proper durability, nor do I really want to either. That's Zach from Jerrying Everything's job. Since I much preferred being safe than sorry, I picked up a Belkin Ultra Class 2 screen protector. Even still though, I managed to get a small crack on it by knocking over my steel water bottle. However, let's now move on to the most pro thing about the Pro and Pro Max models, the cameras. This time around, we've got 48 megapixel sensors for all cameras on the back and an 18 megapixel center stage camera on the front. First up are the back cameras. It's the usual, a main, an ultra-wide, and a telephoto lens. Last year, our telephoto lens was a 12 megapixel 5x with a smaller sensor. This year, our telephoto lens is a 48 megapixel 4x with a larger sensor, making things feel more even when crop zooming into an 8x, which is processed for better quality, meaning it's not just a pure digital crop. But geez Louise, the photos you can get on this thing? Genuinely insane. I mean look, here are some pictures I took of a patch of grass I found at a bus stop soon after initially getting the phone. So here's an ultra-wide, a 1x, a 2x, a 4x, and an 8x. Even a whole 2 months later, I'm still wowed by how good the results are, especially for those 4x and 8x shots. It's not something I'm used to. In fact, that reminds me, you're also able to make use of photographic styles, which allow you to customize the look of your photos directly in the camera app. For me, I personally like to use the gold photographic style the majority of the time because it really enriches the coloring for a lot of the shots that I take. In fact, all the photos you've just seen were taken with gold enabled. But other than that, Apple have even introduced 2 new features that are exclusive to the Pro and Pro Max models, intended to help out film producers and content creators. Now I say that because the average consumer might not ever actually use these, but these features are ProRes RAW and GenLock. ProRes RAW essentially captures all the data the sensors are taking in without compressing it whatsoever. The footage would be in its rawest form, and as you can probably imagine, that'd be a lot of data. To give you a better perspective, recording in ProRes RAW would be approximately 15 gigabytes per minute. Though it depends really, based on what's in the footage, what quality it is, or what frame rate it is. As for GenLock, it allows your iPhones, yes, plural, to sync while recording footage. This lets your footage be taken at different angles without having to worry about needing to manually sync up the footage later in post. Generally, it's a very helpful feature for those looking to create pretty extravagant shots. But anyway, next up is the front camera. The front camera is an 18 megapixel center stage camera, meaning that when taking selfies with family or friends, you no longer have to manually rotate the phone for a wider shot. Now, the phone does the rotating for you, by expanding the field of view using the camera's larger sensor. However, considering the sensor literally is a square, I'm not sure why there isn't such thing as a square selfie option. Maybe you should take a hit, Apple. Anyway, another feature that's exclusive to the Pro and Pro Max models is dual capture, which allows you to capture footage from the cameras at the back and the one at the front. Now, unfortunately, the front camera footage is baked in, which means that if you move it around while recording, it'll move across the same path in the final footage with an interesting motion blur effect that you can't turn off. But right, As for the speakers, they've gotten a change too, with the bottom speaker being on the left, it used to be on the right, which is where the microphone is now, and the top speaker being wider. Bass response has improved greatly, and audio clarity has been balanced across all volume levels, quiet or loud. In fact, I've actually found that listening to audio from the iPhone 17 Pro Max sounds best if you have the phone positioned like this, because it means the audio from both speakers are going directly into your ears, and it sounds really good. Aside from that, let's look at the phone's performance. If we look at its Geekbench 6 CPU scores compared to the iPhone 16 Pro Max, we can see that it's roughly 15% faster with its single-core performance and about 4% faster with its multi-core performance. But don't even get me started on its GPU score, it's ridiculously good. This thing's closer to 40% faster than last year. I imagine that's because the phone is essentially built for iOS 26's liquid glass visuals, kind of like how the iPhone 16 series was built for Apple Intelligence. It requires more computational power, especially with things like reflections or refractions. Now, this year, the case is very important to have. Since the phone's release, there's been an issue going around called Scratchgate, which is caused due to the aluminum unibody being anodized. Once impacted in a certain way, the color would be worn away, leaving you with a permanent silver mark, perhaps even a dent. As for the crossbody strap, which is new as part of Apple's iPhone accessories, it's a way of reducing the chances that a user's phone is dropped or stolen. Overall, in the time that I've used it, it's proven itself to be quite strong. But that's about it, everybody. Using this phone has been a pretty smooth experience for me almost all throughout. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're interested in seeing more tech content from me, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out a lot. Other than that, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.